Hello.
Would you like us to share the PPT, ma'am?
இல்ல அது என்ன ஆகுதுன்னா, இல்ல let me share because it will be easy for me.
Maybe
Uh,
I'm
some somebody is sharing, so you cannot share. Like that, it's coming.
I stopped the sharing, ma'am. Now you please try.
Okay, let me try. Yeah, now it's coming. Can you?
Yes, ma'am. Now I can see.
Okay, okay, fine. ஹலோ.
Ma'am,
சொல்லுங்க. சொல்லுங்க டாக்டர் ஷர்மிளா.
ma'am, can you please stop the sharing now, ma'am? Once,
Pardon?
can you stop the sharing screen now?
ஓகே, ஓகே.
Ma'am, shall we start?
Yeah, yes, Dr. Sharmila.
Ma'am couldn't join us, ma'am. She's not well. So she has to
Okay.
So we'll start with the session today. Before we start with the webinar, let us dedicate a few minutes to pay our earnest tribute to the Doyen of Home Science, the late Dr. Kamalamma, former professor and head, Faculty of Home Science, Gandhigram Rural Institute, Dindigul, who attained a Lotus Feet on 21st of January 2021.
To start with, I offer my humble pranams
ஆமா
feet of Dr. N. Kamal.
வெல்கம் அட்ரஸ் கொடுக்குறாங்க.
For those who have
கருப்பட்டி பைய கத்திக்கிட்டே இருக்கேன் நான் இது போறேன்.
heard of Dr. N. Kamalama, I would like to
சாரதாக்கவும் எழுந்துட்டாங்க ரொம்ப. ஆமா
To start with, I offer my humble pranams to the lotus feet of Dr. N. Kamalama. For those who have not known or heard of Dr. N. Kamalama, I would like to say a few words about Madam. Dr. Kamalama was a retired professor and head, Department of Home Science, Gandhigram Rural Institute, who left for heavenly abode on 21st January this year. Madam was a veteran home scientist who touched the lives of all persons who came across her life. Those who had the good fortune to spend their time with her would recall her sound knowledge, affectionate nature, the way she empathized with others, her resourcefulness, scrupulous planning, and so on. She led a highly principled life throughout. She joined Gandhigram Rural Institute as head of the Department of Home Science and retired as head. There were many instances of Madam being first in her professional life. She was the first and only woman dean who stormed the male bastion way back in the 80s. She was the first to introduce a postgraduate course in home science among science streams in their university. She was the first person to complete an international research project successfully by collaborating with American Association of Physicians of Indian origin. During her tenure, she headed various academic bodies, be it UGC or DST. She had been the head of Board of Studies of Home Science of almost all universities and colleges all over India. Above all, she was an awesome human being, a dedicated wife and a lovable mother, not only to her daughters, but to all her students. She was a great philanthropist who helped a lot of people in her lifetime. A committed and dedicated teacher, there are a lot of traits we should imbibe from her. She was knowledgeable, accessible, magnanimous, active, lion-hearted, affectionate, motherly, majestic, and amicable. I humbly appeal to all who are present here today to carry on Madam Kamalama's legacy by working hard and to prove your worth. Thank you.
With a small tribute, let's move on to the session of today. I'm here to give the welcome address. Good morning and warm welcome to everyone connected with us for the webinar. It is indeed our privilege to host webinars with the humble intention of reaching out to students of home science. Adding to our efforts, the theme of today's webinar is science. Our beloved principal madam, Dr. S. Vanati, is an enthusiastic torch bearer of student skill development and has always encouraged our efforts to this end. On behalf of our department, I extend my warm welcome to you, madam. Today's theme is about student skill development with regard to research and report writing. Many a time we have noticed that even smart students struggle to express their creative research ideas since they lack this skill. Today we have with us eminent resource person, Dr. K.S. Pushpa, Professor and former Dean, Gandhigram Rural Institute, deemed to be University Dindigul, who has a reputation for mentoring students in academic writing. I myself am a receiver of Madam's expert guidance during my annual presentations of my research work. Madam, we are honored to have you with us today, and I'm sure the audience will be greatly benefited by your guidance. Glad to have you with us, ma'am, and welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Shamila and other organizations. Thank you.
Home science is a multidisciplinary field, and so research avenues are manifold. Research avenues are manifold, but to choose a topic of research and excel in the field is a Herculean task. Here we have Dr. A. Tahira Banu, Assistant Professor in Home Science from Gandhigram Rural Institute, deemed to be University Dindigul, who will guide you effortlessly into the realm of research in home science. Happy to welcome you, ma'am. A warm welcome to all the delegates, faculty members, researchers, and students who have taken the time to enhance their skills in academic writing and research and who have connected with us on Zoom and as well as YouTube live stream. Hope you all have a gainful experience today. Welcome one and all. Principal Madam couldn't join us today as she is sick and so she is unable to deliver the presidential address. So we'll move on with the first session. Let me invite Dr. Sharada, my colleague and friend, to introduce the speaker of first session, Dr. K.S. Pushpa. Over to Sharada.
A pleasant morning to one and all present here. I deem it a great pleasure and unique privilege to introduce Dr. K.S. Pushpa, a dedicated teacher, a renowned home science avid researcher. Before presenting this brief introduction, I would like to quote Lawrence Stern, an English novelist, who said that the desire for knowledge increases ever with the acquisition of it. True to his words, Madam Pushpa has an insatiable quest for acquisition of knowledge. Madam has completed her bachelor's degree in home science and postgraduate degree in home science extension from Gandhigram Rural Institute. She completed MPhil from Mother Teresa Women's University, Kodaikanal. Madam Pushpa was fortunate enough to do her doctoral research under the guidance of Dr. N. Kamalamma ma'am. She has also completed B.Ed. Presently, she is working as a professor in the Department of Home Science at Gandhigram Rural Institute. She has 26 years of rich teaching experience. She has successfully guided 8 PhD scholars, including myself, and currently guiding 4 candidates. She has also guided several PG students' projects sponsored by Tamil Nadu State Council for Science and Technology. She has undertaken several major and minor research projects funded by UGC and ICSSR. Madam has to her credit of publishing numerous articles in reputed national and international journals. She has also published 6 books and has written chapters in many books. She serves as a reviewer for various journals. Madam has organized several national and state level seminars, workshops, and training programs. Needless to say that she has also served as a resource person in various seminars and conferences. She is a life member in several professional bodies like Home Science Association of India and Society of Extension Education, to name a few. Madam has also served and still serves as university nominee and member board of studies of various colleges and universities. She also has rich administrative experience and has donned several caps like warden, chief superintendent of examinations, coordinator of distance education center, and so on. She is one of the national level monitors in the Central Ministry of Drinking Water and Sanitation, New Delhi, and a master assessor of NIRD, Hyderabad. While browsing through her exhaustive and meticulously prepared biodata, which ran into several pages, I could sense a passionate dedication in pursuing her research and academic interests. Madam, it is a great honor to have you here, an authority in the field of home science extension. We are all ears to listen to you, Madam. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sharmila, and thank you, Dr. Sarata. I thank Principal Sri Meenakshi Government College for Women.
Ma'am, not audible, ma'am.
Not audible? Hello? Now? No, no, it's okay. Hello?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Yeah. So I thank Principal Sri Meenakshi Government College for Women for giving me an opportunity to share my experience with the participants and other faculty members. Thank you, Dr. Sharmila and Dr. Sharata, for giving me an opportunity and invite me to give a talk on academic writing, which is a need of the hour. First of all, I give my pranams to my guru, Dr. Kamalamma, who passed away 10 days back. And without her, I was nothing. So, my humble pranams to my guru. Then, all participants, whenever you have doubt, please put it in writing and give it to the organizer so that I can answer to your query. Shall I start now? Hello.
Please, ma'am. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. The topic given to me is academic writing. Nowadays, many students are aspiring to do their PhD, but while at the time of submission of PhD, what are the style they should follow, how to write, how to go about it? They are finding it very difficult. So, what is academic writing? Academic What is academic writing? Academic writing refers to a style of expression that researchers use to define the intellectual boundaries of their discipline and specific areas. See, for example, when you want to write something, home science way of presenting a dissertation is different from how the chemistry people are doing, physics people are doing, engineering people are doing, and English people are doing. That is different. So each discipline, they have their own way of style. Here, style denotes how to write the thesis, the way, how to present it. So, in other way, we can say it is a reporting in research. It's a general term which we are using for a long time. It's a report writing. So, a report is a Latin word which has come from that word reportory. So, to carry or to carry back. Here, a research report is a narrative but authoritative document on the outcome of research process. It presents a highly information for a clearly designated audience. Here, clearly designated audience means you cannot prepare or you cannot present same report for different kinds of or different types of audience. Each audience require different types of report. So you cannot prepare one report for all purpose. So the report is a formal, informational, or interactive document. So research report is a formal communication written for a specific purpose. It includes procedures to be followed for collection and analysis of data, their significance, conclusion drawn, and recommendation. See, when you want to write a thesis, you have to chapterize. In home science, what we follow is introduction, then review of literature, materials on method. Some people say it is a methodology or study design or procedure. Then results and discussion, summary and conclusion, and you have to add some appendix. So whenever you write some thesis, you chapterize it, plan for it, and divide it. The acronym as IMRAD, IMRAD. So IMRAD means introduction, materials and method, results and discussion. There are different types of research report. It's a technical report, what we use to write the thesis. Popular report, normally you see it in the newspapers and columns sometimes. Then interim report, summary report, only at the end of the program or end of the project when you write after doing a summative evaluation, we call it as a summary report, then research abstract, then research article. So when you are preparing for a report, you should define your purpose and scope of writing the report. What for we are writing, to whom we are going to submit it, then who will get benefit out of it, how you are going to write. So normally in extension education, while planning a program, we have to do answers 5W and 1H. So as per that, you have to define your purpose. Then determine your audience to whom you are going to submit it. Then collect the data. How you are going to collect the data? What are the tools and techniques you are going to use? How you are going to implement the data collection, everything you have to decide. Then organize the material. After the data collection, you have to organize the material in different tabulation format, and after applying relevant statistics, then make an outline of it. So while writing, we have a heterogeneous group, and there are different subjects. In home science, we follow APA style, American Psychological Association. That is APA style. Social sciences and sociology, psychology, then geography, geology. Many people are following this style. That is APA style, American Psychological Association. So they are publishing a book called Publication Manual. You can see this publication manual. So this publication is manual is updating every year. What I shown now is 6th edition. Now the 7th edition has come out, and it is available in Amazon, and it is like a Bible. Whenever you want to write thesis or dissertation or report, you have to follow the writing style and presentation style. That is APA style. Then MLA style, Modern Language Association of America style. Normally, people in from English and Tamil languages, humanities, they follow this style, and that is MLA style. Certain things are common for all people, but the writing style is different. So that is MLA style. Once again, I am repeating, Modern Language Association of America. Then CMS style, that is Chicago Manual style. Chicago Manual style is for history, philosophy, religion, and other courses. Likewise, Chemical Society of USA, Mathematical Society of USA, Physics Association. So each one, they have their own way of writing the thesis. That is called style. So what we follow as a home scientist, what we have to follow is APA style. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let me continue. Then, while writing a thesis, before that, you have to collect the information to know the research gap. So, how can we do that? So, what are the different sources of scientific publication? I am not going to be elaborate in this aspect. Only a brief introduction is given. Research journals, short communication and research reports, monograph, conference papers, thesis and dissertation, book chapters, book reviews, annual reports, newsletters, project proposal, posters, now e-journals, e-magazines, and a lot of materials are available. At the same time, we have to be very careful while taking the materials from other sources. Okay, we should not copy it. You can use it for writing literature review. You can use it for introduction, or you can quote while to substance or to your views, and to add something about your finding. You can add the others' work, but you should not copy down what they have done directly. Okay, that is, the term is called plagiarism. Okay, plagiarism means owning somebody's work as our own work. Okay, so we should not do that. Whenever you are taking some information from the scientific publication, we should always acknowledge the source of information. So here, let me come to the point from title. Normally, people like to have title elaborately. Okay, so the title should be specific. Title should contain as few words as possible. Some universities have restriction in coining the title. In Gandhigram Rural Institute, as per our research format, The title should not exceed more than 15 words, excluding words like preposition and article. Okay. Then don't use low impact words. Here, what do you mean by low impact words? Even now, I am getting some theses from neighboring state and our own places. They say, yeah, study on evaluation of 100 days employment program in Usulambatti block of Madurai district. Now, what researchers say, yes, study on, don't use such word. That word is low impact word. That word is low impact word. Don't use such word. Yes, study on. Likewise, you should not use mentioning the location also. Nowadays, location, anyone can search in the Google and one will get lot of information about the location. Just a minute. So you should not use yes, study on. People used to say sarcastically, I have two daughters, both are girls. Like that only. If you are using the word yes, study or the study. Likewise, you should not use the methodology word in your title. Impact study or evaluation study. So you should not use such word. Then the title should not be too brief. At the same time, it should not be too brief without mentioning anything. Okay, malnutrition, yes, study. Some people may say, or the prevention of type 2 diabetes mellitus. So such things also should not be there. Then title should reflect the content accurately and adequately. Title should reflect the content accurately and adequately. What your work? What is your work? Your title should speak your work. Then flashy title should be avoided, like newspaper articles or magazine articles. Flashy title should be avoided. Then the recommended length for title is 15 words. Then sometimes in foreign countries and in Western countries abroad, the people have the habit of making bibliography and also subject index. So in that, they will put only the title. For that purpose only, nowadays they are telling, don't use yes study and don't put location in the title. And they add your name and the title in the subject indexes also to help the future researchers to find important information. Nowadays, all dissertations, PhDs are documented by InfLibNet, Information Library Network, which is part of UGC. They are having headquarters in Pune, Ahmedabad, and they are under Sodh Ganga. If you visit the website sodhganga.inflib.ac.in, you will get the thesis done by researchers in many universities. You can search the name of the researcher, or you can put subject as a home science or food science and nutrition, rural development, women and development, or human development, or you can put the university name Gandhigram Rural Institute or Madurai Kamaraj University. You will get that information under Sodh Ganga. Then describe the contents of the paper accurately. The paper should give a blueprint of the work done by you. Then in title, avoid abbreviation, formulas, jargon. For example, and evaluative study of ICDS in Coimbatore district. So here you have to expand ICDS. You have to expand ICDS or Narega. If you should not put like this. You have to expand the abbreviation and acronym. There is a difference between abbreviations and acronym. Abbreviation, you can pronounce word by, sorry, letter by letter. For example, ICMR, ICAR. Here we are pronouncing the letters ICAR, ICMR, WHO. Whereas UNICEF is an acronym. We won't say UNICEF. We are reading like a word. Likewise, at ICRISOT, we say ICAR, but ICRISOT. So, ICAR, ICMR are abbreviation, whereas ICRISOT, UNICEF or acronym, NAREGA are acronyms. Then you should not use formula, especially it is applicable to science. Then you should not use some technical words which common people may not be able to follow. Then report the subject of the research rather than the results. Then you have to give an abstract in the before starting your introduction page. So many people think that writing an abstract is very easy. You take two sentences from first paragraph, you take another two sentences from middle paragraph, then last paragraph, like that. But it is not so. Writing abstract is a tedious and Herculean task. How in 10th standard you have to concise 3 paragraphs to 1 paragraph, like that. Then the abstract should be self-contained, concise, specific, and it should be readable. So what are the things should be considered while writing an abstract? The abstract should be definite and not descriptive. You should give a fact. You should convey the information itself, and it should be meaningful. Normally, while writing abstract, the abstract should not exceed more than 250 words. That means it includes title. You have to write the title, then authorship. Authorship here denotes who is writing that abstract. Suppose myself and my student are doing the work, so I should give first preference to my student. So the people who has done extensive literature and who has done the study, they should be the first author, followed by next person and next person. See, when for CAS and for calculating the score, the first author will get 50%, whereas the rest will get equal 50%. Equal 50% in the sense, each one will get that same weightage. Okay, sorry, 60-40, same weightage. So, the first name should be people who have done that work. Then a good abstract should not contain any abbreviation, any statistical detail, and it should be your own work. It should be written in one paragraph, and at the end you can give some keywords. Then don't include quantitative data and accompanying statistical values in too much detail. And it should not contain literature citations or reference to tables and figures. When you are using the keywords, use take down the word which is not familiar to others. You have to give keyword. That keyword should not be more than 5 words. Then introduction. Normally, people write introduction starting with the definition of the term. But for higher level, you need not explain the definition of the term. For example, malnutrition. They start with what Swaminathan said about malnutrition, what Sakuntala Mane said about malnutrition. That definition is not at all necessary. You have to introduce the problem, what for you have taken this research. So your introduction should speak about your research work. Then describe the research strategy. Then nature and extent of the research problem. Here, you can give a fact about your research problem, showing some census data or WHO data or UNICEF data or Government of India, Women and Child Development data. You can give in that, but everything should be in parentheses. Here, we won't call it as a bracket. Bracket is normally used by the mathematical people. We should say it is a parenthesis. So when you are writing the reference, that is the research term is in-text citation. The research term is in-text citation. So you have to write clearly, carefully with the year, and first author should be the author name should be a second one should be first. For example, Devendra Kumar Gupta, 2019. You want to quote the name in the in-text citation. So here you have to mention Gupta 2019. In the bibliography, you have to say Gupta Devendra Kumar, or you can say Gupta DK. Then a few paragraphs about your research has to combine with the previous work. The need of the study. Here you have to mention your objectives, general objectives and specific objectives. You have to frame the objectives in such a way that it should be measurable. Your findings should be based on your objectives. But normally what we do, we are doing work, collecting the data, finalizing the analysis. After that only we are framing the objectives. It should not be. See, in chemistry and physics, what normally in our university they are doing, they are framing the objectives. Once the first objective is over, their analysis part is over, their lab work is over, then they will publish some 3 to 4 articles based on first objective. Then they will concentrate on second objective. Then they will complete that part, they are publishing. So by the time a research scholar, a PhD scholar complete the thesis, he might be having some 10 to 15 numbers of publication in with a good citation. So the credit goes to research supervisor also. Then in introduction, avoid a list of points and bullets. You have to write a paragraph. In generally, single line should not form a paragraph. Whether it is introduction, or whether it is a review, or it's methodology, or a results and discussion chapter, a single line should not form a paragraph. Then review of literature. Second chapter is review of literature or literature review. You have to read thoroughly, collect the information as much as possible. As per research procedure, we should not quote literature 5 years back. Suppose you want to submit your thesis by 2020 May. You can have a review of literature up to 2015 to 20. Not very old, but certain things you can use old reference also. For example, defining the term health. You can use older references. But at the same time, review should not contain the literature beyond or before 5 years period. Then arrange properly. Nowadays, a lot of softwares are available. One famous and commonly used by social science people is NVivo, NVivo. That software, and there are some more softwares are available. You can arrange your review, but at the same time, you should put your effort manually. There should not be repetition. Machine will do mechanical. With involvement only you can do. So chapterize with section wise, you have to arrange properly. I am seeing many theses. It is mere dumping of different work done by others. Dr. Kamalama used to say,
여러분 찬나로세 펌시대 현 가자자니고 고피 콜레서 어두다 산나로시 가덴가 레이자니 너무 색들 따지다는 게 매놈 따라만
hello, some disturbance crosstalk is going on.
My God, if I think you in a tongue, I think you in the momentum.
Hello, Dr. Shamila. Hello.
Sorry for the inconvenience, ma'am. We are trying to mute the participant.
Yeah, you please mute them. Yeah. So you have Dr. Kamalama used to say, arranging a review should be like நம்ம கதம்பம் தொடுக்கிற மாதிரி இருக்கணும்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. You should not mere dump all flowers. You have to segregate it and arrange it aesthetically. Then one can make a garland. So likewise, we have to prepare our review of literature. So normally, many theses contain, they are abruptly completing the review without giving any conclusion. The review of literature should have a research gap. What is research gap and what you are going to do and what has been done so far? There should be one paragraph about conclusion. Then materials and method. This procedure is very important, and this chapter is very important, and it should reflect your own work. So what has been done, when it was done, how you have carried out, phase-wise manner you can give, then what design you have chosen, what are the tools you have used for collecting the data, or what are the procedure you have adopted for doing your experiment, then method of analyzing the data. And here in this chapter, you have to mention your study location, design of the experiments, materials used, hypothesis. If it is an experimental study, you have to define your variables. What are independent variables? What are dependent variables? What are intervening variables? Then make a hypothetical diagram. Then you should mention the hypothesis. And hypothesis is a tentative assumption. Then method followed for collecting the data. Then don't go overboard with the excessive description of common procedure. I have seen the tools of data collection. What is survey? Survey is defined by Good and Hod, or survey defined by Wilkinson, or survey defined by or Krishnaswamy. You need not mention all these things. What is survey? What is interview method? Or what do you mean by scale? All this definition need not be given under procedure. What is your work? You have to explain that work. And write materials and methods in past tense. Nowadays, thesis thesis normally they send it to foreign for evaluation, foreign countries, and foreign examiners always asking for conceptual framework. What concept you have developed out of your work? What theory you have chosen for doing your work. So the theoretical framework and conceptual framework is very important that you have to mention under materials and methods. Here, you have to define the terms, what you have used in your title, what you have used for your procedure in this chapter. That is, operational definition of the term should be given. What is operational definition? How it is different from normal definition? Normal definition is given in the book. You can quote the source. Operational definition is what you have meant in that. For example, women empowerment. Here, in my study, women empowerment means educational empowerment of women or employment of women. You have to mention clearly. Then results and discussion. Present your results simply and clearly. You have to chapterize it. And for each table, before starting the table, you have to give a brief introduction about the title. For example, personal background of the respondent. So, what you are going to mention or write about personal background, their age, their education, their marital status, their sex, everything here you have to mention. So, present your result simply and clearly. Report only representative data rather than endlessly repetitive data. Don't report large masses of data. Don't have three-way tables or four-way tables. Make it very simple table. If necessary, you can have two or three two-way tables. Then in text, refer to every table by number. Suppose you are mentioning more, if you are having more than 20 tables, more than 10 tables, you start with 4.01, 4.02, 4.03, like that you have to mention. In results and discussion, in the table you can say number, percentage. Or if the column number is more, you can say just NO dot, then percentage. Symbol you can mention. In the text, while referring the person, 40% or 60%, 70%, don't use percentage, 40 percentage or 60 percentage. Use 40%. While writing person, 40, leave one space, per, leave a space, send. So throughout your thesis, it should be uniform. In one place, in under review, person together, and in results and discussion, break person, breaking that, it should not be. There should be uniform. In the text, write single digit number in words unless followed by unit. Recently, I received a thesis from one university. Then in that, they have mentioned 4. You should write the 4 in words unless it is followed by unit. 4 crores, you can use number. But 4 places, you have to mention with the word. So you, in the text, write single digit numbers in words unless followed by unit. One more thing, while presenting data in the table, always use single digit while representing percentage. Sometimes in some places, people are mentioning in one table 80.4, in another table they mention 80.43, in another table they simply mention 80. So it should be uniform throughout your thesis. Whenever you want to mention the person, you mention 20.4 or 80.4. So make it a whole number after one digit. Okay. Then don't start a sentence with a numeral. This is I have seen in especially MSc dissertation and BSc project, they are writing with the numeral. Here, what do you mean by numeral? 40% of the respondents, they didn't like the food served in the mess. Or 20%. Here you suppose You want to write, you write it in a word, 20, not the whole number. So don't start a sentence with numeral. While presenting an approximate value, use a definite number, not a range. I have seen thesis. Half of the population, three-fourths of the population, around 50 to 80 members. Don't use any range. Give exact value. Then in text, use to instead of dash to express a range. 50 to 60. Here you have to write 50 to 60, not 50 dash 60. Tables and figures. If the information can be presented in a sentence or two in the text, don't present them as tables or figures. Nowadays, people are using tables. They are presenting the same information in the table. They are presenting the same information either in the form of bar chart or pie chart or line graph. This should not be. Then table heading should be limited in one sentence. If you want to add unit, you can at the end of the table title, you can put it in the parenthesis. You have to mention. Normally, this is applicable for economics and commerce people. Then refer all graphs, pictures, drawing as figures. You have to give figure numbers throughout your thesis. Then before summary and conclusion, many people, they are framing the hypothesis. They are testing the hypothesis with either chi-square, or sometimes people are doing regression analysis. Now people are flyer of doing lot of statistics. They think that if we do lot of statistics, the thesis is very rich. Neither the guide nor the student nor the examiner doesn't know whether the candidate has used proper statistics, whether it is interpreted properly. So use that statistics which is known to everyone. Don't spend too much money for doing statistical analysis. Try to do it on your own. My guide, Dr. Kamlama, used to say, you do your statistics manually, then only you will understand how to interpret it. Nowadays, people are doing SPSS packages, fine, but you should know how to interpret it. The statistician who is helping everyone may not be knowing your subject, may not be knowing how to interpret your findings. So don't depend on statistician for interpretation of your results. So you, as a researcher, you have to interpret the statistical information. Then indicate the significant result, suggest future research that is planned, conclusion with the evidence. In summary and conclusion, you should not give others work. That is very important. Sorry, I forgot to mention one thing here. In hypothesis, everyone is framing under methodology. Then you have proved the hypothesis also, whether it is a positive or negative or null hypothesis. At the end of your results and discussion, you take each hypothesis and give your findings, whether it is significant or not significant statistically. And you have made a framework for your variable under your methodology. That variable also has to be proved in the results and discussion chapter, which many researchers, they forget to mention it. Then reference, you have to be very careful here. You have to mention the style, because each one is having their own way of writing the bibliography. Many things that bibliography is not important. Nowadays, the evaluators, what they are doing, no, They are taking each and every author, whether it is mentioned at the back of in the bibliography, then they are checking with the year. So one has to be very careful with the reference. So in-text citation, whatever you do, whatever you have included in your introduction, methodology, review, the author or the reference or the dictionaries or encyclopedias, you have to mention in your bibliography also. Dr. Sharmila, how many minutes I can take?
Take your time, ma'am.
No,
Relevant.
no, you just tell me so that I can restrict my bibliography aspects.
Maybe 10 more minutes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Then for discussion,
5 minutes, ma'am. We'll have.
okay. Then I shall show the slides very within 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay. Then, so bibliography is very important for writing books, journals, reports, and e-references, e-journals. You have to mention it very clearly. Then, as I told you in the beginning, the second name should come as a first name. For southern side people, normally we won't follow that. அதுக்காக வேண்டி நம்ம விஜயலட்சுமிங்கிறவங்க லக்ஷ்மி விஜய, தனலக்ஷ்மி, லக்ஷ்மி தனன், you should not break it. Okay. Venkata Raman, you should not break into Raman Venkata. You should not do it. That's why when surname is given, you have to put for a Patel, or you can say Sarita Anand, or you can say Lakshmi Perendevi. You can divide their name. But normally in Tamil, Subramanian, Manian Subra, you should not do it. Okay. So for books, author, for books, you have to give author name, title, place of publication and publisher. For journal, name of the author, title of the article, journal name, volume number, page number. Nowadays people are going to library and referring is very less. Everyone is depending on online sources. So here what you have to do, don't mention the web address alone. For example, if you are referring some Sage publication journal, don't mention www.sagepub.org. What you have to do here is you enter into the full article, write the title of the article, author name, if it is a e-journal is available, mention electronic version in bracket. Here I am using bracket. Bracket is different from parenthesis. Okay. So here you have to use the bracket and write electronic version. One more thing you have to do is, suppose you are referring the whole article in the URL, uniform resource locator, that is URL. URL, there is some address and other things will come. You have to write that with retrieved from, you have to mention, then retrieved on. Suppose you are referring today, then you have to mention retrieved from www.sagepub Family and Consumer Science Journal, retrieved on 20th January or 30th January 2021. You have to mention like that. Whatever be the report or census data, you have to mention the retrieval. You should not simply write www.unicef.org or www.who.org or www.wcd.nic.in. You should not use it. You should not write in the reference also. Okay. Then you have to follow, if you are following name year system, you have to do it. If you are putting serial number, normally for bibliography, we won't put the page number. We use different page number, small Roman letters and citation sequence. Then it is your work. It should be clear, consistent, logical, and it should be coherent. What normally people think that computer will do the spell check. Computer will do, no doubt about it. But if you write wrongly, for example, for nutrition student, you want to mention MEAT, meat. If you are mentioning MEET, meat, then computer won't correct that mistake. You always remember that. Computer won't correct. So, then suppose you are writing IN in the, by mistake, if you put INN, computer won't find out that as a mistake. You can ask me a question. Why not, madam, I can use Grammarly as a software for checking my grammar, checking spell check. Fine, you can use it. That also, there are some issues unless you involve reading thoroughly, you cannot rectify certain defects. That you should understand. Because it is your work. Don't depend on somebody. No, she did it, so I didn't know that. Don't give all just excuses. It is your work. You have to go through it carefully and clearly. Put page number, put table number. Till your submission, you have to look into it. In our university, one candidate thesis was sent to foreign examiner. Then the thesis was rejected. The main reason is the methodology chapter was not included in the binding. Then another thing is bibliography, halfway it was mentioned. The rest bibliography was missing. So it is your work. You have to do it. Don't depend on others. Don't believe others in this case. You have to do it. So always do typographical mistakes, check typographical mistake, then see whether all papers are numbered properly. Everything you have to do it. Then abbreviation is very important. In the first page, that is title page, you have to give the whatever the abbreviation you have used in your study, you have to mention. I think referencing source, if any occasion comes, I can explain later. Or you can refer apistyle.org, www.apistyle.org, where you will get this kind of what to do for text citation, what should be done for one work by one author, how you have to write, one work by two authors, then one work by 3 or 4 authors, what you have to do, then one work by 6 or more authors, what you have to do, work with no one authors. So for writing bibliography, it will take time. You have to do it carefully, arrange it alphabetically, or if 3 or 4 same author with a different year, you have to give preference to years. Okay. Then whenever you write in the thesis, you have to give double space all lines between and within entry. Okay, that is very important. Arrange alphabetically. So sometimes don't use abbreviation in between in your thesis. Even in bibliography, you have to write limited. When you are mentioning about the book publisher's address, you have to write limited. Don't put LTD. Okay. These are some of the journal citation on the reference list. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. Then be careful while taking reference from electronic information. Okay. That URL is very important. Provide addresses, URL that work. Okay. Thank you for giving me an opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Shamila, and thank you, Dr. Sarata, and others in the department. I appreciate the department is taking efforts in organizing number of webinars during this COVID period, and they conducted quizzes also. I am appreciating the efforts taken by the faculty of the Department of Home Science. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for your explicit and elaborate presentation. I'm sure you have ignited a lot of young minds. Now it's time for the participants to clear their doubts. Participants, please message your queries in the chat box. Participants, are there any questions?
Yeah, here till they ask for some questions, you have to give appendix also. If you have any lengthy table or lot of data which is necessary and which has to be given, the procedure, but don't give common procedure like how to calculate BMI and the normal procedure for comparing height and weight. All these
Ma'am,
things
you're
you may not give.
muted, ma'am. Can you unmute yourself?
No. It's
Pardon?
audible. No, ma'am, you please go on.
So you can give such tables and other things in the appendix. Then nowadays, uh, getting confirmation from ethical committee is very important. That ethical clearance letter should also be added in the appendix. Any questions?
Ma'am, shall we have the question and answer session after the second presentation, ma'am? If there are any questions,
Okay.
some time for the participants to message.
Oh, okay, sure.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you, one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, let us move on to the next presentation. I invite Dr. J.B. Sharmila, Associate Professor and Head, Department of Home Science, to introduce the next guest speaker of today's session, Dr. A. Tahira Banu.
Can you kindly stop the sharing, ma'am? Pushpa, ma'am? Moving on to the next session, I'm delighted to introduce Dr. A. Tahira Banu. Assistant Professor, Faculty of Home Science, Gandhigram Rural Institute, deemed to be University, Dindigul. I've had the privilege of being in close association with Dr. Takira for the past 22 years as a friend, a fellow academician, and later as my research guide. Madam Education in Avinashlingam Institute for Home Science, Coimbatore, and has served as lecturer in home science at Qasim Devi Abdul Qadir College, Keelakarai for almost a decade before joining Gandhigram, deemed to be university. Her teaching experience spans 23 years and has been actively involved in research for the past 10 years with 25 publications in peer-reviewed journals, 16 edited chapters with ISBN publications. Her research acumen had fetched her 2 minor projects under Tamil Nadu Science Council, State Council for Science and Technology, and 3 major research projects under UGC funding. She organized a national conference on therapeutics of marine bioactive compounds in 2013, a topic of utmost interest to her. She has authored 2 books, namely Dietary Fiber Content of South Indian Foods and Therapeutics of Marine Bioactive Compounds. The biggest accolade she deserves is for acquiring a patent recently for developing a nutritional rich chocolate composition using seaweeds, a praiseworthy feat, a rare accomplishment by a home scientist. Needless to say, Madam has an in-depth mastery in the field of nutrition research, and I'm glad to say that I've been lucky to have had her as my research supervisor. Her polite demeanor, cordial nature, sincere approach, and networking abilities make her an ideal mentor to many research aspirants. She is also a life member of professional bodies such as Indian Dietetic Association, Nutrition Society of India, and Breastfeeding Promotion Network of India. Her active involvement in NSS and Red Ribbon Club, etc., through extension activities, camps, and training programs are laudable. She is a frequent member in BOS in Home Science, credited with contribution to curriculum design, e-content in the field of food service management, being resource person and chairing sessions in national and international conferences. Glad to have you with us, Madam. I'm sure your session would open up avenues for home science research and also give directions to budding researchers to reach high standards in their work. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you, Sharmila, for the nice introduction. And I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you're clear and sound.
Yeah. So at the outset, let's thank Almighty for giving us this wonderful day. Yeah, and I thank the principal, Sri Meenakshi College, Madurai, and Dr. Sharmila, Head Department of Home Science, and Dr. Sharada, Organizing Secretary of this Students Webinar Series 2, and for giving me this opportunity to talk on the research topic, research avenues in home science. It's I have shared my PPT, Sharmila. Is it visible?
Yes, Tyra, visible. Please go ahead.
So the topic is a wide topic. Hope I do justice to this. And if I'm not into most of the disciplines, please apologize me. And now let's go into the research avenues in home science. And we had a wonderful session earlier, how academic writing, a beautifully chat session. Ma'am gave us all the information. And now, if you know the research avenues, I think the PG students and the UG students are going to do your project, and your research is going to have a good outcome. God willing, let's see how it's going to work on. To start with, let's understand what is research. Okay, so are you telling me it's researching? Yes. So research is about addressing an issue, like asking a questions or answering the questions or solving a problem. So research is to identify an issue, a question, and a problem. We should always ask questions. We should also see for problems. Only if we look in for problems anywhere or an issue somewhere, we can solve that problem, and that becomes a research. And home science is such a wonderful subject. Everything around us, we can do research, right? So it is an art as well as a science. and to talk a few points about the branches of home science. As all of us know, it is not new to you, but we have 5 different branches, and all these branches are interdisciplinary, and we can do interlinked researches in any way. We can link textiles and food science. We can link home science extension with everything. We can link human development with textiles. We can link it with resource management. We can link it with food science and food dietetics and everything. So it is such a beautiful subject, a domain which can be interlinked and interrelated, right? So everything starts with extension. I strongly believe in that. So let me tell you a journey of my own research. I've recorded this elsewhere also. So when I was working in Tazim Bibi Abdul Qadir College, a small coastal town, the Kilakarai, we used to go in for extension activity, and we had given a topic to the students to work on the nutritional status of fisher women. Fortunate, it was really a fortunate thing that we went there. We could see there was a new type of occupation that people were doing, and they were called as women seaweed divers. So it was so new to us. So we started asking them, what is your job profile? What do you do? How do you do? And what work do you get? What is economics? How do you earn your money and all that? So they said that, so you can see the pictures there. They dive into the sea. I'm just relating how extension is important for research in all the field. Okay. So they do diving in the sea for nearly 6 hours, 7 hours. They collect seaweed. They do wild harvesting, and they collect the seaweeds, and they come to the shore. They dry it. If they dry it and sell it, they get around 14 rupees. This is, I'm talking a scenario which was 15 to nearly 20 years back, and maybe 15 to 20 years back. And if it is fresh, they sell it for 7 kg. And there were big trucks coming and collecting it from them and going. And through along the shore, we can see a lot of seaweeds were being dried. And we asked them, where do they go? How are they being utilized? They said some go to dyeing industry, some go to food industry, some go to pharmaceutical industries. So there it ignited food industries. What do they really do in the food industry? Yes, there is a lot of things they are doing, but in India, we don't eat seaweed. How is it? They said, no, they are using it in food industry, but we are not aware of it. But this is what we do, and we collect it wild, and there's so much abundance of this seaweed in our shores. So this is the information they gave us. So we took their nutritional status, and it was so poor that they are inside the waters for such a long time. And if you see their hair, everything is in white color because of the salt, and their skin is very dry and all that. And when slowly, okay, we know that the seaweed is being used. Research literature found that yes, in other countries like China, Philippines, Japan, seaweed is such a food, that is their exotic food. They keep eating food, they roll it with rice, and so many varieties of foods they make and eat. But in India, we have not seen eating. Nobody has eaten seaweed. Nobody has consumed seaweed. Sorry. So once then we went to the CMFRI and CSMCRI. There are 2 marine research institutes in Rameshwaram. When we went there, when we talked to them, they said, yeah, it goes for agar industries, pharmaceutical industries, and all the chocolates, emulsifiers, stabilizers, meat products. Everywhere these seaweeds are being used, but all of us are consuming seaweeds, but not in a direct form, but in a processed form. They said these poor women sell it for 7 rupees and 14 rupees, but they sell it after processing, they sell it for 1,500 and 3,500 as hydrocolloids, carrageenan, alginate, agar. Then even Madurai people will be knowing, you would have tasted the jigardanda, famous jigardanda. It is with agar. But we have been eating seaweeds, but not in its direct form. So there it ignited us. Why don't we start preparing food or popularizing this seaweed as a food in a direct form? So there it started, and today I have a patent with that same extension work where I started. I did my research in seaweeds, and I got a patent for my product, which I used it for anemic children. And even I have many other products we have been yet developing in Gandhigram, and we have many more products with seaweeds. So this is a very good example. I can tell you that without extension, there's no research in home science, because in extension, we look in for problems, we look in the issues, we find out we get, and later on, we start to lament over it, and then it becomes a research, and then it becomes a product. And no home science research can be left halfway. It has to be started from the beginning, and the end it should be an application oriented research. Only such researchers are that you may call it as the translational research. Only such researchers are in home science, and we are to do only such type of researches. And slowly, when we asked those scientists, they told, yes, we are even cultivating these seaweeds. So it is you can cultivate, you need not exploit the natural resources, and we are giving training for women, and so many avenues were there. And even our Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, then president, brought in this Pura scheme, providing urban amenities in rural areas. So they giving a lot of loan to the people, and then we initiated so many things happened just because of that one extension activity. We could do so much of work. So home science is an interlinked subject. We can do a lot once we are boldly entering into extension activity. Then the next experience, so then when we saw there are so many products, why don't we make products? So that is how we made a lot of products with seaweeds. The second experience in extension and research was, there is again a coastal town in Ramnath where we went for camping there. Those days we had NSS camps and community social service camps and all that. We found that for every street there were people with 2 or 3 cancer patients were there. So that really ignited our thought. Why? How come? What is the reason? What are the risk factors that people are facing here? And then immediately we wrote a project to UGC on quantification of food carcinogens in this coastal hamlet. And then we got a project for 10 lakhs, and that work was being done there in Kilakarai. So this is just an example to tell you that how we can do research when we can really know what we are doing. Only when we do extension, we can see the problems, we can see the issues, we can ask questions, and then we can do some researching. So with this introduction, let's start with just a small preamble of types of research, because we should know about what are the types of research that is being done in nutrition. So with that, what we can do in our own field of work. Yeah. So there are, we can just, there are a lot of research. When you see the textbook research methodology, you can see it as applied research, exploratory research, so many types of research. But I have just delineated to this basic research, clinical research, translational research, and policy research. Let's see how this is. So what is basic research? So when you see the term basic research, it is meant to increase the scientific knowledge. So this type of research is purely theoretical with an intent of increasing our understanding of a phenomenon or behavior. Can you just give me some topics of basic research? So in basic research, we are not going to do any invention. That is, this is going to be the feature of a basic research. There's not going to be any, you're not going to create anything or invent something or nothing. It just increases understanding of your basic knowledge, and it will sometimes does not seek to solve problems also, but you can understand what it is. Okay, lays down the foundation of science, supports theories and how world operates and all this. So can you just put it in the chat box, some topics of your choice you feel which is going to be basic research? Can you just share some? Can you? Am I audible?
You're clear and audible, Tahira. I'm waiting for the audience response now.
Yeah, it will be fine if you can just put some topics. So any basic research, what you think is basic research? All of you are students, most of you are students here. No, nobody is interested to put it in the... No. Okay, so let me give you some examples of and basic research. So just now we are in the corona period. So investigation of corona symptoms. So that can be a basic research. So each one of them says a different type of symptoms. Yes, somebody is given some topic.
Responses here. You want me to read them out?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it will be better, or I'll just try reading this.
Said nutritional profile of
A study assessing whether migrant laborers, good. Yes. Study assessing whether men or women are more likely to be diagnosed with depression. Good. So I think we should stop using these low impact words after the session. Yes. So we can just put assessment of men and women who are more depressed or something like that. Yes. Good. So this is a basic research. So these topics come under basic research. So something like corona symptoms, each and everybody say there are different symptoms. So we can just put an investigation. What are the different types of symptoms people have? So we can just pull it up and then we can have it as a small project. This is for UG students we can do. Or the factors, secondary factors of diabetes, hypertension, renal stones. Earlier diabetes, we were just believing that it is only because of eating sugar, but now there are so many other reasons for it. Maybe too much of stress, right? Stress also leads to diabetes. Hypertension, which is just a symptom, it is not a disease. So there are so many factors that we can find. So you can do some research on it. Or treatment options for disability. So people have disability. So you can think of what type of treatment options are there. Is it available in our country, in our locality, our panchayat, our town, whether it is there, we can find it out. And what are the assistive devices available for these disabled children? We can find out. This is not improve anything. You're just getting an understanding what is what. That's all. And we can even create a database with already available iron-rich foods. We can have a database and say these are the iron-rich foods. So much of the iron is present in it. If there are data on bioavailability of these iron-rich foods, we can give it. So that may help, may or may not help in on consuming, will help in micronutrient status. Same way, growth factors and yield of microgreens. Now microgreens are in that is most of us are trying to make our own garden, an own kitchen garden, a nutrition garden after this Poshan Ma and all that. Our Prime Minister's oath, like nutrition garden and all that. So we can make our own microgreens. So we can just find out what is the growth factors for bringing in good microgreens, what is going to be the yield of microgreens, what is going to be economics. So if we just give it, sell it. So in hotels, just a microgreen salad is somewhere around 250 rupees in a good star hotels and all that. So you can just do a basic research on that. Then education materials, small videos of creating nutrition education materials, how to eat, how not to eat, or how to boost your immunity and all that. So I'm saying like data repositories for herbs is immune enhancers. Already there are data. We are going to create a repository and we can keep it. And we can even now they say they earn a lot of money by putting it in YouTube and all that. So you can share, you can create a blog page and put it this after doing your research. So all this can be taken as an UG project or even a PG dissertation for this time, particularly for COVID. We can do such type of research. It is not there, and it is not at how to consume these herbs. You have to look in for a lot of data, lot of traditional indigenous books we have to look in for and find out how you say a particular herb is anti-diabetic. How do you consume it? How much to consume it? What are the factors like how to mix it together? And all that we, which particular food when we mix it, it is going to be a stimulating one. When you're going to mix it with which type of food, it's going to be an inhibitory one. All these data, I'm not going to tell you, I'm not telling you to work do a research on it, go to the lab and do it, just collecting informations. So we can do this by doing lot of review of literature, going in for, this will be like a documentation. This is all will come under, there are many more, just few examples I'm telling you about the basic research in home science. So next, clinical research. So clinical research is a medical research involving people and living things. There are two types of clinical research. One is observational research and the other one is clinical trials. So it is usually with with human volunteers or animals or something like that we'll be using. For all this, we need a good infrastructure. We have to go in for ethical committee. We have to talk about informed consent forms to the people. We can't just directly go tell a person, eat this, give your blood, let me see how much it is improved. No, we can't do that. Everything has a protocol, a standardized protocol. This is a little higher end research. So when you say about clinical research, as I told you, there are two studies. One is observational studies and the one is clinical trials. So when you say observational study, investigators assess the health outcomes in groups of participants according to the research plan or a protocol. Here they are not assigned as experimental or they are not assigned as control group or anything like that. Just they are in a group. Okay, we are observing them by already they may be on some drugs or they may be on some diets or they may be using some devices or some procedures may be done in a routine medical care or in health care or whatever it is. And maybe they are using an ergonomic chair for sitting in the kitchen, an old age person, right? So we just see how many of them are using it, how they are using it, and you're not assigning any intervention to anything like that. You're just observing an observational study. So it is like some examples of an observational studies are investigators may observe a group of older adults to learn more about the effects of different lifestyles on cardiac health or effect of industrial pollution on health status of the workers. Like we know that there is a pollution. Maybe you can take, for example, the Tirupur dyeing industries and all that, or the cotton mills and all that. We know there is already pollution. Just see the health status of the workers there. How you are just doing an observational study. And food related to food workers, just hand hygiene practices alone and its effect on quality of food served. And drinking coffee before bedtime by adults and their sleep pattern. Use of social media and their behavior pattern and physical activity. So these can be some of the examples of observational studies, which you can do it from your home. Sitting at home, you can do such drinking coffee or social use of social media on physical activity and all that. You can create Google forms and all that. You can send it, get the feedback and see how it, or you can even find out on how is the ethnic food people, so that what their health, what are the disease, or if they're not suffering from any disease, their food pattern is really going to be good, right? Or their physical activity is good. Maybe everything is in O with them, so that everything is good. So you can do such Google form surveys and all that. So in an observational study, it can, when it comes to animal and laboratory studies, here we don't use any, no humans are used when it is animal or laboratory studies. And it can be case reports or case series or narrative reviews or expert opinions. From the editorials we can find out and write. Case control studies, all these are called observational studies, like cohort studies. Exposed cohort is observed for the outcome for a long period of time. You just see how people are, what is their lifestyle and how it is changing, or they may be on a drug, for example, a cholesterol reducing drug they are already taking. You just find out their parameters and then say whether this drug is really helpful or not. So such type of studies are called as the observational studies. So for these studies, you can't just like that do it, because you have to do go in for a lot of ethical issues and standard protocols are there. It is a higher end research. So when it comes to clinical trials, it is also called as interventional study, or participants receive a specific intervention according to the research plan or the protocol created by investigators. Maybe a drug or a device or a procedure or a behavior change or a diet or whatever it is. So maybe you have, as I told you, in an observational study, you don't have a control group or an experimental group or anything like that. But whereas in a clinical trial studies, we'll be having a control group, we'll have an experimental group, and one group may be getting some active ingredient, the other group may not be getting any, maybe on a placebo with no active ingredient in it, and it cannot be done immediately. It has different stages. So they say it would be a preclinical, then phase 1 studies, will be done in days or weeks, maybe in small sample sizes, then expanded safety for maybe on weeks or months for hundreds of people. And the final stage will be for thousands or the phase 3. Now, how the vaccine has come out the same way, but it has taken a very short period, but usually vaccines will take several years. So initially it will start with the lab, then it will come to the human safety, then expanded safety and efficacy safety. So this is how clinical trials will be done. So some examples of clinical research. So before that, this is the first clinical research done in nutrition in the year back 1747. All of us have learned about vitamins and minerals. There we would have said about the sailor's disease. So that is the vitamin C, the gum disease, bleeding disease, where the sailors were dying in numbers because of vitamin C deficiency. And one Dr. James Lind, he conducted a systemic clinical experiment using a citrus fruit, that is orange or lemon, to treat scurvy. And this work was verified only in 1794. It was done in 1747. So see the time it had taken for translational period for practice to that is lab to practice. So in 1794, there was another British Navy ship who gave its people who fed their people with lemon juice for 23 weeks. It is a non-stop voyage to India, and these people who were on this lemon juice for these 23 weeks did not have any serious outbreak of scurvy. But whereas prior to this, there were many number of deaths and among the sailors. And this type of systemic clinical experiments have explored the science of nutrition and food-related health myths for centuries. So this is James Lind, and this is the bleeding gum disorders, and these are the sailors, how they were treated with lemon juice. So this is the first clinical trial research in nutrition. That what the Google says. And talk about this clinical trial research, let's also understand about this randomized controlled clinical trials. There are different ways how we can have a control group and the experimental group. So the one is parallel group design, where the participants will be randomly assigned to receive either the intervention, maybe we are giving them, maybe take for example the lime juice, or the placebo without the lime juice. A crossover design where participants will be randomly assigned to receive either the intervention, later the placebo. Maybe for first 2-3 weeks they may be having the intervention, and after that they will not do. They will withdraw the supplement, and they'll give a placebo without that particular supplement. And cluster design, where pre-existing groups of participants are randomly assigned to receive an intervention or the placebo. Or a factorial design, where participants will be randomly assigned to receive a particular combination of interventions or placebos. There may be different groups, experimental 1, 2, 3, like that. So in an RCT, that is a randomized controlled clinical trial, all our clinical trial research will be done with RCTs only. We test for superiority, whether one is better than the other, or the non-inferiority, one is not worse than the other, or equivalence, one cannot be differentiated from the other among the other study designs. So this is an RCT which we should follow this type of design for any clinical trial work. So some of the examples of clinical trial researches. So may give a diet supplement or treatment to participants who have high blood pressure to see whether their blood pressure decreases, or bioavailability studies like iron bioavailability, calcium bioavailability, because every gut is different. You can't say if I take a particular iron-rich food, it does not say that I may get all the iron in it. So it differs. So we have to know for the bioavailability studies, we can do it in vitro, and then we can do in vivo studies. And evidence-based micronutrient supplementation studies, efficacy trials like food supplements, and young children formula consumption and iron deficiency. You can see that it can be a national level study, large populations we can take and do it. And pre-operative probiotic treatment, giving probiotics before the pre-operation and then seeing how the post-operative health of a person is, and effects of multimedia interactive module of making clothes to home science students, and even like your herbal sanitizers, how is it really, whether it is working, whether it is for now for COVID, whether it is really removing the germs and bacteria and virus and all that, wound healing pads, biotics, different dietary changes and development changes during life cycle, then women entrepreneurs and economic susceptibility, all this can, it won't be in a clinical trial, women entrepreneurs, but we can see why maybe if they are going to be women entrepreneurs, like we are going to develop some nutraceutical products or functional food products, so then they want to market it, then they have to do clinical trials and then we have to find it out. So such are some of the clinical trial examples. Next is program research or translational research. So this is to produce more meaningful, applicable results that directly benefit, whereas sometimes clinical research may stop with the laboratory. But translational research is the one which will come to practice. So the goal of translational research is to translate basic science discoveries more quickly and efficiently into practice. So examples of some translational research. So this is about the microbes, gut microbes, how it improves your gut mucosal immunity and in turn prevents so many other diseases, like improves your nutrient digestibility, good for ulcerative bowel, that is your colitis, irritable bowel syndromes, cancer prevention and all that. So this is a translational research. So it can be a feed for the future, beans, bran enriching nutritional eating for intestinal health and feed the future. And food fortification studies, epidemiological studies. Food fortification, it was in lab, they were talking about iron fortification, iodine fortification, vitamin D fortification, all that is now available, right? Epidemiological studies talking about how diabetes is in India and rural area or throughout all that. Program monitoring and evaluations and dietary diversification studies, all this will be under your program or translational research. Next is your policy research. Is defined as a process of conducting research or on analysis of a fundamental social problem in order to provide policymakers with pragmatic action-oriented alleviating problem. A best example is your backyard goal, Moringa. How in Cuba they had given every household has an Moringa tree, and it helped in alleviating malnutrition among the children. Your midday meal program, all this are examples of your policy research. So school midday meal in India, eat less salt, sugar, fat, which was FSSA India from 2018 this started, and towards a trans fat free Europe. And then Japanese, they brought like it is illegal, but it is not true information, but that country has some policies that their citizen, whoever has 33.4 inches for women and 34.2 inches for men, or centimeters for hip size, have to undergo some 6 months diet regime, and then if they don't reduce within 6 months, there is some penalty or like that. So all this comes under the policy research, right? So now whatever research we do, it should be an innovation and it should be into practice. If it is not into practice, the research is going to be waste. So I just read one article, I found it very interesting, and so I just wanted to share that part of it also here. Translating nutrition innovation into practice. I've given you the source, you can also read it and see. So earlier this trans fat, now as I told you, trans fat free Europe, in Denmark and other countries, they have totally banned trans fat. And because that was a alternate, okay, for the costly animal fat, like your lard, butter and all that, because vegetables, vegetable oils were hydrogenated, so they became very cheap, and it was, and they also had a very good characteristic of or the very good functionality as a shortening agent. So when they used in baked products and other things, it had a very good texture and all that. So slowly this was in 1950s there was a good sales of these products as trans fat, like your dalda, vanaspati and all that. When research began to identify that saturated fatty acids and animal fatty acids contributing to elevation of plasma cholesterol, lower proportions of saturated fatty acids in hydrogenated vegetable fats were marketed as a nutritional advantage. They said the proportion of saturated fatty acid in these vegetable fats are very low and sometimes nil, so it is very good. But they forgot that by transforming the cis to the trans form, naturally it is also a saturated fatty acid. So this became a market, vegetable fat was marketed as a nutritional advantage for many years, and they were, it was a billion market. And slowly there were, they were also assumed to be a healthier alternative to animal fats. But in 1990, see the time lag, okay, 1990, there was a research stating that these trans fatty acids raises the LDL cholesterol and lowers the HDL cholesterol. But immediately that time also what they said, no, whatever the experiment they did, they had given more of trans fatty acids in the diet. So that was the reason it is altered. But whereas in all these food products, it is very less. But unfortunately, in 1992, there was another study. If this study have not been done, then again trans fat marketly, it would have been there. In 1992, then they repeated the same clinical trial, and they found, and they reduced the, as they said, the trans fat content was reduced, and they found that yes, trans fat acids has an effect on lipoprotein metabolism, and it raises the LDL and lowers the HDL. Then in, see, from 1992 to 2003 only, first Denmark banned the use of trans fat, and one in 2006 mandatory labeling for trans fat, and slowing its disappearance and replaced by plant sterols. But when you see this plant sterols, it was being produced from 1862, but nobody wanted this plant sterols, right? And whereas 1950 only, your trans fats were developed, and they started using transplant. So the translation, though there was an innovation, but people didn't understand, or they didn't have the need to use this plant sterols. Now we have these margarine and all that with plant sterols, and they found that combining plant sterols with vegetable oil did not bring any change in their physical properties or flavor properties, and then it is more safe than a trans fat. So they started using it. But initially they were giving it for free also, but nobody wanted it because there were other options also, like maybe like heart healthy foods were available, oats, soybeans, and omega-3 fatty acids were there to lower the cholesterol, and drugs were also there. So nobody wanted these plant sterols. Only after this trans fatty acids were found to increase the LDL, then slowly these plant sterols came into being. So your translational research should always, when you develop a new product, development, the communication that you give it to the for the people should reach the people properly, and it should have scientific validation. All the research what we do should be scientifically validated. If it's not validated, then if it cannot come, or it should be brought out. We should publish it, or you should create an awareness, or we should take it to the consumers. Only when the consumers know about the real goodness and goodness of the product, they will start using it. Otherwise, all the products will be in the laboratory only. So we have to always think of doing need-based research. So need-based research, I'll just, as the organizers asked me, that I have to just tell you one part on food product development, how to develop, because most of our students nowadays want to develop a product. They say, ma'am, it's better we develop a product. So developing a product is fine, but how to develop a real good food product? So just take an example of COVID-19 pandemic. Just read the backside also. They say that there is no cure for COVID, and it can't be just with the mineral and vitamin supplements or any immune boosters and all that. And as all of us know, immunity cannot be developed overnight. It takes a long period, and it is not a single factor food alone. There are many other factors along with that. So just an example where everybody are fascinated with the term immune enhancers, immunity boosters and all that. So I just wanted to show you how to develop a new food product. So up to this, we have just seen that different types of research that we can do in home science, and we can extrapolate it to different disciplines, and we can we can do an interdisciplinary research also. And when it comes to COVID thing, as I told you, we will just see how to develop an immunity enhancer. Okay, so before that, I told you research is asking questions. So how immune system is helping to fight the infection? Just simply we can't develop an immunity enhancer. We should know what is immunity and how is the system helping to fight the infections, how the immune system works for different antigens like bacteria or virus. Now we know one is RNA, the DNA is getting damaged, the RNA is, all that we should be very clear. Then what nutrients play a major role in enhancing or improving the immune system? Maybe zinc, and how zinc is related to immune system in terms of zinc fingers and all that. Is food the only agent that the immune? Foods can boost your immunity. How long does it take to build a healthy and a vibrant immune system? So all these we have to do. For this, we have to do a good literature survey, and we have to answer the above questions. And then we have to go in for the stage idea generation. After doing idea generation, we should do an idea screening, the prioritize your ideas. You may get hundreds and thousands of ideas, then go in for a feasibility study, whether this is it feasible for me to develop this product in my place, in my lab, in my area, and all that. And will I get all the ingredients, all the equipments all available to me? So technical feasibility, marketing feasibility, financial feasibility, all that we have to find out. And then you go for development of a prototype and do quality testing in terms of nutrition, nutrient quality, shelf life, all that, acceptability, sensory evaluation, and do a scientific validation. Then go for scale up, then we have to cost it, then put it into test marketing, and then we can go in for commercialization. So interactions of several factors in product development is all these: the nutrition, medical, regulatory. So many regulatory agencies are there now. We have the FSSAI, the manufacturer, analytical, quality, finance, discovery, everything. All these factors are interrelated. So now idea generation, we can do a brainstorming, or we can have a focus group discussion, or we can go in for many seminars, read a lot of magazines, all that, many ideas you'll get, need-based. Okay, now immunity enhances, that is our idea now. So what can the product be? It can be uniquely innovative. Innovative is something very, or line extension. There may be already in product, but maybe there is a change in the flavor, taste, or the color, or something like that. Or reposition products. Some product may be produced for intended use, but then finally we find that no, this is good for this, right? So oats was just a cereal. Later on, they came to know that it is good for lowering cholesterol. So they made it as heart healthy foods. So just it can be anything, our food. So feasibility, whether we have the market, whether we have the technical know-how with us, whether we have the equipments with us, whether we have the finance with us, all these feasibility studies with for the particular idea we have to do. Then production requirements, all this. Then product formulation and testing. So for a recipe development, so it is not easy for developing a recipe. So we have a statistical modeling for developing a recipe. So before that, let me just tell you in a recipe formulation what we do. Maybe the slide is too clumsy, but anyway, just try to read it, go through it. It is like an experiment design that we can do. So there are called as factor methods. We have one-way or two-way factorial experiment. The one-way factorial experiment is we take one key ingredient, which may have to play the key role in formulation, and other factors is little effect on the formulation or no interaction with other ingredients. So the number of factors and levels are very important, and the factors are the independent variables, and the responses that we get, we call it as the dependent variables. The responses, and maybe the independent variables can be temperature, ingredient, pressure, or time, or whatever it is. The responses that we get for it may be the quality, the taste, the shelf life, and all that. Okay, so it becomes large. So we have to see how the experiment has to be done. So we'll see first is one factor method. Formula design. So I've just taken a formulation of an immune booster. Just simply, I've just put a simple ingredient like turmeric, tulsi, citrus fruit peel, dry ginger, pepper, chamomile flowers, jaggery, or whatever it is. Now we are keeping other ingredients in constant, and I'm just changing the quantity of the citrus fruit peel alone, maybe from I add in the first variation as 1 gram, 2 gram, or 2 gram, 1 gram, 0.5 gram, or something like that. And finally, I find it that 0.5 gram peel only increase the overall acceptability score. So I call this as a one factor method. You keep other ingredients constant, and you keep and you change only the single ingredient, what you feel is going to have a real effect on the, because citrus peel may have a bitter taste, or it may have an pungent or taste, or anything like that. So pungency may be there. So you are keeping this as an ingredient that is going to affect the other flavor of the other ingredient. So you're taking that factor alone and you're going to change its variations and see, then you call this as a one factor method. So this type of study can only refer to a formulation effect as a whole formulation effect rather than a specific ingredient effect. So next is two factor or more factors in a food formula. So when more than one ingredient is in the design, a factorial experiment design is required. A factor can be quantitative factor or a qualitative factor. The number of factors and levels decide the size of the experiment in terms of the number of treatments. The purpose of experiment design is to determine any ingredient has a significant effect on response measure. As I told you, factors are the ingredients or the pressure, the time, the temperature that we do. The responses are the quality indices that we're going to see. For example, you have 4 ingredients at 2 levels. Maybe the same immunity boosters we can take. Okay, so each will lead to 16 treatments. Okay, so 4 ingredients at 2 levels. Maybe you are having tulsi at 5 gram and 10 gram. You are having dried ginger at 2 gram and 4 gram. And you're taking citrus peel in you have decided with the citrus peel. So again, you're going, because you're changing the other ingredients, you want to change again the citrus peel. Maybe that is the one which is going to add to the immunity efficacy or something like that. We want to increase it. So you take 4 ingredients, 2 levels, and then you have 16 treatments. So we'll have 16 variations to work on it. So now a factorial design, this is an example you can see. It's usually with alphabetic factors A, B, and C. So A has A levels. A levels are the number of levels that we have. B has B levels and so on. So when we refer to a factorial structure, we refer to it generically by its level. If we have 3 levels of factor A and 4 levels of B, we call this as 3 into 4 factorial structure. Okay. Now, if you want to have a 3 levels of factor A, 2 levels of factor B, and 2 levels of factor C, we'll have a factorial design of 3 into 2 into 2. So we'll have 12 different treatments available. Maybe you have 3 levels of herbs. The same tulsi are having it at 3 levels and 2 levels of dry ginger. And you want to use, whether you want to use cane jaggery or whether you want to use palm jaggery. So you have 3 into 2 into 2. So you have 12 different treatments, and then you prepare it in that way. And then you, for this, we should have a clear understanding about the ingredients, about its role in interaction, or when you add more pepper, what will be the thing. So you should read the literature properly and then decide about the quantification, how much of this to be added and how to level it. For example, now if you're going to do prepare an health mix or something like that, or a supplementary feed or anything, already standards are available like Balahar, WinFood, Kulandai Amudu. You can take that ratios. With that particular ratio, you can alternate and then we can prepare. So this is called as factorial design thing. So we have, or we can do a block design also called as randomized complete block design. It's a restricted randomization of treatments in which units are sorted into blocks, and then the treatments are random, because when you keep on increasing the levels, there will be number of treatments. So there will be number of variations that you have to prepare, and sometimes it will be a waste of time also. So you can change it into blocks, and those blocks can be used for finding out. So now for the same ingredient, so the product can be made using 4 different herbs, maybe tulsi, basil, thyme, oregano, keeping other ingredients same, and the 4 panel judges would be testing 4 drinks randomly assigned, and they scored them. And then finally, you don't tell them there is a change in the herbs or anything like that. So you get their product. So this is how we do a recipe formulation. That is very important before we enter into product development. And it runs in following types as full factorial design, fractional factorial design, response surface. We have in software also RSM and mixture design. So this is the reference. You can just see that there. So when it is a product, we have to see whether all this. So now we have decided the idea was immunity enhancer. Then we went for method of development. We have finished with the recipe formulation. Now the nutritional factors, micronutrients, whether if it's intended to increase the protein content or if it's going to test the digestibility, bioavailability, all that has to be done. And functional properties like shelf life, acceptability, packaging, and all that. So now sensory methods. So basically there are three types of sensory descriptive, which load after when you develop a product. Affective is it includes both the preference and acceptance tests. So term preference and acceptance are often used interchangeably. The product development, it might be well to point out that one product may be preferred to another without being an acceptable product. Okay, maybe both are not acceptable, but one is better than the other. So affective tests used in product development include ranking, paired comparison, hedonic scales, and mostly nowadays students are using the scorecard. Please stop using scorecard. It's better you go in for these hedonic scales and word actions or rating scales. And discriminative tests to determine the difference or similarity between products. So they include standard difference test, that is a forced choice, and sensitivity test, threshold, the dilution, and all that. For this, we have to give training to the panel members. Only after giving training to the panel members, we can do this test. So measure the difference in terms of threshold. If you're using the different panelists as being representative of the, because we have consumer acceptability test and also sensory evaluation test. So we'll select them on the basis of product usage or some other consumer criteria. So we have intended a product for diabetic person. It's better the consumers can be diabetics. You need not go and give it for an adolescent girl and say it is going to be good for, it is very nice food for diabetics. Okay, so if you are using a different panelist as physical measuring instrument, then we select them on the basis of sensitivity to or low thresholds for the flavor difference. In either case, the finding must be correlated with the data from actual field studies. You can do a sensory analysis in the lab, but it has to be put into consumer acceptability. Only then we can say the findings are true. And standard difference tests are triangular, Diotrio, and paired comparison tests, which is also done. Which will when we do this type of test, we can do statistical analysis. Earlier tests, we can't do any statistical analysis. So it should be used in treatments in different kind than in different degree. So they should not be used to determine differences between brand. Maybe you're taking Lay's chips and you're taking some other brand, Uncle chips, and you can't do it because their brand vary in several dimensions. We can determine two levels of the same. I told you, when we do a recipe formulation, we are changing the levels. Maybe tulsi with 5 grams and the other one with tulsi with 10 grams. The same ingredient, the levels may be changed. You can do this type of test. So descriptive test is to answer the question, what are the characteristics of this product? If the subject is used as an instrument, descriptive methods focus on the product. So used as a consumer, descriptive methods focus on the consumer awareness or sensitivity of the product characteristics. So next is, after we finish with the shelf life testing, sense evaluation, that is acceptability test, we have to do shelf life testing. So understand the product. So what type of product, how it has to be stored, where it has to be stored, and understand the factors affecting the product quality, and what temperatures, how long do you store it, and all that. So types of shelf life testing is static, accelerated, abuse. Static is just you keep the food that you prepared. If it has to be kept in room temperature, keep it at room temperature. If it has to be in refrigerated, keep it at room temperature. And I'll tell you the days, how long you have to keep it. And you just see for its shelf life. Accelerated, you put it in different temperatures. Maybe you're keeping it one day in the room temperature, the next day in the refrigerator, and you're putting in different situations, because in a store, when your product goes to a store, it's going to be in a different situation. And then abuse test, so taking it to different environments, different temperatures, you're throwing the pack to just see whether there's mechanical damage or anything. That is called as abuse test. So storage testing. So there can be different types of storage testing. For that, we have a type of sampling: basic design sampling, reverse design sampling, and semi-reverse design sampling. When it is basic reverse sampling, You just maybe you keep your product for 1 week until the end of the shelf life analysis. You're going to see once a week until the end of the shelf life analysis. You take the product once a week and do a quality assessment. So that is a basic design sampling. Maybe it can be even 1 week, maybe the end of the product, or maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but every week you're just taking it. Reverse design sampling will be collected following the sampling plan. However, the sample will be maintained under controlled conditions, maybe if it's refrigerated or freezed or wherever it is, will be assessed after completion of all samplings at the same time. Then semi-reverse is mixing both. Both the methods are being used. A sample may be collected for testing after 2 to 3 rounds of samplings, or in the middle of the sampling plan. Maybe you have 6th to 6th day, maybe 4th day, 6th day, or something like that. But in between 5th day also you collect and you check it. So that is a semi-reverse plan. So sampling schedules, if you know your product is a short shelf life product, then up to a week we do the evaluation. If it's a medium shelf life, maybe it is up to 3 weeks, like cakes, pastries and all that. You take it taken off on days like 0, 7, 14, 19, 21 and 25 days. So long shelf life products, you take it for up to 1 year, and maybe 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, or sometimes even it goes above 1 year, 18 months. So this is how we schedule the sampling schedule for a product. But since if it is usually PG products for PG projects are for 6 months, we use it for medium shelf life time, we finish it off. Next is costing. We have to know how to cost a product. So we should know what is the fixed cost in developing the product, and variable cost, and how much of you with you're going to sell, you're going to be in break even. There is no loss, no profit. And how much percentage, if you're going to increase your fixed cost, your profitability is going to come. So costing is very essential, because you can't do any product without its economics. So whenever we develop a product, we have to see that what product is in need, what is the nutrition knowledge existing already among the people, will your product be really accepted, and then we have to develop such products. So this is just a small plan of how to develop a food product. The next is the research tools. When we do a research tools, we all of us take long time in preparing questionnaires, modules, scales, and we don't know what is the procedures. We keep searching, and some papers, and we take some low impact journal papers, and we say this is the procedure, and we do it, and we are not aware of the guidelines. So I just thought I can just share some views. So there are a lot of repositories, like ma'am told that InflibNet, Sodhganga. If you go to into WHO, World Health Organization, you get different forms, like your if you want to test the quality of life of a person, maybe HIV person, or an elderly person, or an adolescent, or a person who is in depression or anything, all those forms are available, but we have to get a written permission for certain forms, and then we can use those forms. Then FAO, there is food frequency questionnaires, dietary diversity scores, and FSSAI, there's a lot of guidelines available, USDA also, ICMR, NPCS, that is National Health Portal of India. So this is one from FAO, Household Dietary Diversity. You can read there. You can download the form from here. So you can just click it. There is a tool. You can use that tool. These are assessment tools to know how is the household dietary diversity. This is a small research you can do in your own area. How is the dietary diversity score? So whether the score is about 12, 6 and all that, we say their diet score is good. And these are the other things. When you go into FAO thing, you will find all this. So this is the Sodhganga. There is, as per the subjects, you can see our subject is food science and technology. It's in agriculture sciences. So like that, each science they have separated and given. We can go and take our thing. And FSSAI, it has different manuals. Okay. So guidelines are there, the orange book, the pink book, the Eat Right India handbook, and all these modules are also there. And then organic foods, to just know whether in your own streets they are selling organic foods, whether these organic foods are really organic, are they into the standards, has their labeling done correctly. So all that tools and the features are given in the FSSAI. You go into Jaivik Bharat, standards for organic production, you can see there. So you can use that tool for finding out whether your food is really organic or not. Similarly, fortification. If you want to do some premix, you want to fortify some food with some other micronutrient or anything like that, he's given us a full guidelines how to do the fortification, how much has to be added, and everything is given there. So you can get the guidelines from FSSAI. And these are standards for fortification of foods, how much for manufacturing level, for distribution level, how much is the amount they are adding it. So we can have this as a guideline, and we can also do some premix, fortified atta, milk, and everything is given. Same way, processing. Now the latest one is your bird flu, right? How to, we can just even create a small video or a nutrition education material saying that even there is bird flu, and in this pandemic, how to cook food, how to cook meat, or what are the do's and don'ts. This can be made into a video, and you can circulate it and see how much views you get. So that can be a small project. So you're giving some awareness to the people, and you can do. So all those guidelines are already available. You're going to take those informations and you're going to transmit it to the public. So that is what. Okay, and then when you see this consumer rights, so this is a know your rights. So whether people are really aware of these rights, you can do a small survey, and to find out whether people know what is their consumer rights, what are safe foods, and these kurkure was plastic and all that. No, those myths are also given here. It is not true. It is not a plastic. Any cereal, when you're going to exclude it, it is going to get converted into those, and it will have the capacity, and it will be like a plastic, but it is not a plastic. So all those myth videos are also given here. You can go through and you can develop something, and you can create an awareness. That can also become a small project, mini projects. And if you're interested to develop health supplements, nutraceuticals, food and food for special dietary use, or any probiotics, prebiotics, whatever it is, there are guidelines given in the FSSAI standards. You can go through those guidelines, and as per the guidelines, you can also prepare your products. And this is an USDA, so Healthy Eating Index, diet history questionnaires, dietary assessment calibrations. All these are readily available in the website, where you can download it with the permission. Certain things have to be, you have to get a permission. Certain things you can freely use it, and you can change it according to your local need, as per by getting a written permission from the concerned sites. So that you can do. So you can see a dietary screener questionnaire. So they're given many questionnaires: fruit, vegetables, fibers, that. And yeah, so this is a guide to method for assessing childhood obesity. So you have a tool already there. You need not prepare a tool. You use that tool, get a permission from them, and use the tool and find out whether how many children around your private schools or in your area are having childhood obesity. And this is another thing which I told you about, the National Program for Prevention and Control of Cancer, Diabetes, Cardiovascular Disease, and Stroke. So here they are giving us an format is already available, community-based assessment checklist form for early detection of NCDs. So this form you can take, and you can do a small survey around your area and see how many people are are prone to NCDs. So these are some of the tools and guidelines that is available in the website, where you can get those validated tools and do your research. So thank you for your patient listening. I'll be happy to get queries from you if you have anything. Yeah.
Thank
Yes.
you, Dr. Zahida, for the impressive session. It was a beautiful interweave of the different facets of home science. The clear and concise presentation on the different research avenues of home science, the careful detailing of each and every stage of research process with relevant real-life situations and experiments would have without doubt enlightened the audience, future researchers, to a great deal. Thank you very much once again for this exhaustive presentation. The session is open to the audience for any queries. We have been receiving very positive comments since the start of the session, both Dr. Pushpa's and your sessions, Dr. Taira. We are happy to say that. And the recorded version is live streamed in YouTube. So future researchers also can look into it anytime. The audience, please share it with your students and the co-researchers. The link will be live throughout. Any queries, please? See, the problem with home scientists is we don't open up and ask questions to the reputed resource persons that we call each and every time we attend a webinar. I don't know why we do that, but still, maybe you can contact the resource persons later and get your queries clarified. Thank you, Tahira, once again. Let's move to the last session of proposing the vote of thanks. I call upon Dr. Sharada to propose a vote of thanks.
Good afternoon to one and all present here. I'm honored to have the opportunity to propose this vote of thanks on this special day. On behalf of the Department of Home Science, Sri Meenakshi Government Arts College for Women, Madurai, I would like to thank our principal for her unconditional support and being a source of constant motivation in all our endeavors. Thank you, ma'am. I must mention our deep sense of appreciation to our distinguished resource persons, Dr. K.S. Pushpa ma'am and Dr. A. Tahira Banu ma'am, for readily accepting our invitation and presenting their views interestingly. On behalf of our department and on my own behalf, I thank both of you madams. I also thank my friends and colleagues, Dr. J.B. Sharmila, Head, Department of Home Science, and Mrs. Bhuvaneshwari, Assistant Professor, Mrs. Selvarani, Ms. G. Shankari, and Ms. B. Sumaya, guest faculty, for their constant support and enthusiasm in making this webinar happen. Very big thanks to all the wonderful participants from all over India, as far as from Manipur, Assam, and Punjab. Actually, there were 168 participants, 100 participants in Zoom and 68 in YouTube. Without you, this webinar wouldn't be a success. I would also like to thank all the faculty members and students of other departments of our college who have attended today's webinar. I'm sure you have gained a lot from today's deliberations. I would be failing in my duty if I don't thank Mrs. Rajarajeshwari, Head, Department of Computer Applications of our college, Mrs. Shivajyoti of Kalvi Institute for rendering technical support in organizing this webinar. Finally, I thank each one of you for making this webinar a grand success. Thank you. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, Sharmila and Sharada, for this opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you once again, Tahira, and thanks a lot to all the participants.
Thank you.
Kindly submit the feedback form. The link has been shared in the chat box.
Super. பயங்கரமா இருந்துச்சு.